Now, if you're smart and you know that the positioning is weak and you're hassling people and you're like, hey, maybe we need to check in on this. Maybe we need to figure out how to make this stronger. You know the first question you're going to get back? Okay, smart guy, how do you do it? Now, marketers, some of you, I suspect, are having this thought in your head right now. And that thought is, hey, April, this sounds great, but this isn't exactly my job. Like, I don't get to decide whether we're email or team collaboration or whether or not this thing is a robot. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to do the SEO and make content and be excellent at marketing tactical execution. I don't get to make these decisions. And I hear you, I get you. In fact, I was exactly like you when I started my career. My idea was I needed to be excellent at execution, right? People said, build the content. I'm building the content. I'm building great content. It's amazing. And here's my technical diagram that shows how I thought this worked. You give me whatever you got. And maybe that stuff is good and maybe it's not so good. And I apply my marketing tactical genius to it. And out the other end comes the sparkly unicorns and stuff. And the first job I had, this actually worked pretty good. We had very good positioning. The product was good. There was a lot of demand for it. We did an excellent job on the marketing team. Everything was up and to the right. We were all great. Then I went to the second company, and you know what? In the second company, the positioning was not so good. And so what we had instead was a very capable team of people doing excellent, perfect, in fact, marketing execution, but we weren't getting this sparkly unicorns that we thought we were going to get because, we're email for lawyers or I'm a robot and nobody wants that. And so instead of it looking like this, what was actually happening was, the poo was coming into the system and we were working like heck, shining it up and making everything perfect. And then what we got out the other end was just like slightly more sparkly poo. And at that point, I realized, you know what? I didn't sign up for that. I don't want to spend my day polishing the stuff. That's not what I'm here to do. What I want to do is I want to get a promotion. I want to be the VP marketing. I want to be the CMO. I want to get invited to the board meeting. Polypoo Polisher does not get invited to the board meeting. So even if it's not your job, even if your boss says, don't worry about that, that's not your thing to worry about, it is your thing to worry about, because if you don't fix this, you can't do your genius work. So even if nobody wants you to do it, if you understand that the positioning is weak, you're going to have to agitate to get it fixed. Now, if you're smart and you know that the positioning is weak and you're hassling people and you're like, hey, maybe we need to check in on this. Maybe we need to figure out how to make this stronger. You know the first question you're going to get back? Okay, smart guy, how do you do it? Now we're getting into the hard stuff. So when I started out in marketing, I thought, well, we must have an accepted way of doing positioning, right? It's not like a new concept. We've been doing this for ages, so there must be a way to do it. So I go to marketing school, and this is what I learned in marketing school. Marketing school, when you get to the module on positioning, they're like, hey, this is how you do this. It's a positioning statement. So the positioning statement is this Mad Libs fill in the blanks kind of a thing. And it looks kind of like this. And it's like your product is a blank that does blank, unlike blank and blankety blank blank. And you're filling in things like, here's my competitor and here's my benefit and blah, blah, blah. So the first time I came across this, I was taking a course, postgrad course at a university. And I had just repositioned a product that we thought was desktop productivity software, and it was a stinker. Nobody wanted to buy it. And we repositioned it as an embeddable database for mobile devices, pretty different market category. And then it took off. So I'm looking at this thing and I'm saying, okay, there's a blank there and it says market category. But as far as I can see, any product can be positioned in multiple different market categories. So how do I know what the best one is to write in the blank? So I'm sitting at the back, I put my hand up. I'm like, professor, how do we know which one's the right one to put in there? And you know what the guy said to me? He said, trust me, April, you'll just know. And that's how really smart people say, I don't have a clue, man. So at that point, I was like, we don't actually know how to do this. So at that point, I had repositioned a handful of products. So I thought, well, maybe we can figure this out if we sat down and logicked it out. So here's how I did it. So the first thing is I thought, well, we'll solve this like we solve a lot of problems in life. We're going to break the positioning down into component pieces, solve for the component pieces, and then smash them together. Voila, good positioning. So breaking it into pieces actually wasn't all that hard, because it turns out we agree on what the component pieces are positioning are. These 5 things. The first one is competitive alternatives. If you didn't exist, what would a customer do instead? Second one is unique attributes or features, capabilities. What do you got that the capabilities wise that the alternatives don't have? Next one is value. So people don't care that much about features. They care what your features can do for them. So what value can you deliver for customers that the other guys can't? The next one is customer segmentation, or who's your best fit customer? Because we're not marketing this to everybody. We're marketing it to the folks that really like it and are a good fit for it. The last one is market category, which we just talked about. That's the context. So, okay, I got these 5 things. All I got to do is figure out how to find the best answer for each, put it together. Voila, we got it. Now, the first thing you'll see when you look at that and approach it that way is that part of what makes this complicated is that all of the component pieces has a relationship to the others. So if I take anything on this chart, let's take value. The differentiated value that my product can deliver for customers is completely dependent on what? My differentiated capabilities. And that's the only place it comes from. So those 2 things, I can't figure out one without figuring out the other. And then when you talk about differentiated capabilities, unique attributes, they're only differentiated or unique when I compare them to a competitor. So those 3 things are tied together, actually. I can't figure them out independently. When I talk about my best fit customer, well, my best fit customer, by definition, these are the customers that care a lot about my value. So I can't figure out one without the other there. And market category is a little bit more esoteric, but if you think about it, if I think about market category like context, the best market category is the best context I can position my product in such that this value is obvious to these people I'm trying to go after. So I can't figure out my best market category without knowing value and customer segments. So if everything depends on everything else, where do I start? And for 2 years, and I'm not kidding, for 2 years, I decided there was no good starting point here. We actually picked something. Usually we'd start with features because that's easy, work my way around the circle, come up with candidate positioning. We go out in the market, we test it. If it works, great, we run with it. If it doesn't, we throw it out and we try it again. And that works great as long as you get a good one the first try. If you don't get a good one the first try, then you're the vice president of marketing. You're mucking around with this. You're 3 months into the job. Your CEO is like, TikTok, April, when are we going to figure out that positioning thing? And I'm like, I need to do another iteration on this. So this was bad. How I solved this is a really long story that I don't have time to tell. But the short version of it is I got really into Clayton Christensen and I started reading a lot about jobs to be done. And I had an epiphany that led me to this, which basically what I learned from reading Christensen is if I do not start with competitive alternatives, I will end up with positioning that sounds good in the office, but it doesn't sell in the market because it is not sufficiently differentiated from the other options that my customers have. So it actually has to go this way. I start with competitive alternatives. If I didn't exist, what would a customer do? That's my stake in the ground. I got to beat this in order to win a deal. Then I say, okay, what have I got that they don't have? They fill a whiteboard with this stuff, all kinds of features, amazing. I got all kinds of them. Then what I can do is I can map those features to value. So for every one of those features, I go down to the list and I say, so what? So what for a customer? Why does a customer care about this feature? And then once I've got my differentiated value, then I can say, well, look, I can sell this product to anybody that needs something kind of like this, but not everybody cares about it the same. So what are the characteristics of a target account that make them a really, really good fit for my product? That's going to get me my segmentation or my best fit customers. Once I have that, then I can lean back and say, all right, I got this value. I'm trying to communicate it to these people. What am I? Am I a robot or am I a self-driving car? So this is how you do it. There's a lot of ways to screw this up, to be honest. It sounds easy. It's not that easy. The most common way to screw it up is the first step, which is competitive alternatives. If you go and ask your sales rep, who do we compete with? You know what they're going to tell you? They're going to tell you the last company they lost a deal to. And if you tell them, what do you lose the most deals to? They'll say, oh, it's this competitor. But then if I say, well, how many deals do we lose to no decision? You look at that in B2B, on average, we lose 35 to 40% of our deals to no decision. And you know what that means? That means you lost to Excel. That means you lost to the intern. That means you lost to manual processes. If you don't think of those as competitors, you're not going to be positioned against them strongly enough to make sure that those deals actually move forward.